Hey everyone, this is Paul Gale from PaulGaleNetwork.com, and thank you for joining me today for video game news. It is October 22nd, 2021, and these are the top stories of the day. To kick things off, I am so excited to push play right here because we've got the Grand Theft Auto, the Trilogy, the Definitive Edition trailer right before us. It's about a minute long. We also have a lot more information on Rockstar's webpage, but before we get into that, let's watch the trailer and I hope for the best.
Hello?
Oh, nice. It's getting that clean
I got a little
treatment.
job for you, pal.
Facial features, sweet. Oh, man.
They mess with the biggest quiet down.
Oh, the lighting and everything.
I'm glad to see things back the way they used to be.
New art.
Well, that ought to put the coyote in the chicken coop, huh?
Much more modern.
Yeah! And if he's ratting us out, kill him.
Wow.
It's
Pretty different
You
in
ever
some
seen a
cases.
movie?
You say it like it's a bad thing.
Shut up, Carl.
All right, I'm going to have to go over that again. November 11th. Coming to Nintendo Switch, PC, Xbox One, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5. Let's check that out. That's everything right there. Very cool. Okay, let's go by frame-ish and see the difference. Yeah, this startup shot right here from San Andreas, you could see the difference, the draw distance, the lighting. It's very much the same world, but you know, a total new coat of paint. I think the three games are gonna feel like they did back in the day, but you know, with a more modern control scheme, as we learned, it's gonna, you know, emulate GTA 5's control setup, more advanced camera angles to work with, manipulate. But the graphics, better polygon models, improved textures. Some art looks different. You know, it's very much got its own identity. It's not aiming for, you know, photorealism, but it's definitely an updated look at the old art style. Look at this. Look at the train and look at the city. It's more than just a coat of paint over the exact old textures, over the exact original model blocks, you know? It's definitely more than just an up-res. It's not just that. Very clear. But it's also more than just a simple one-to-one repainting. Things aren't in their exact positions, you know? It's been retooled a bit. And that's awesome. This is worth $60 for sure. This is going to give gamers, you know, an experience in terms of visual fidelity comparable to like a GTA 4, GTA 5 mixture almost, you know? 3 games, $60. Grand Theft Auto 3, GTA Vice City, and GTA San Andreas. Look at this. These don't look like games from the early 2000s anymore, you know? I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased. Dang, look at that. See, if it was just a one-to-one repainting, objects wouldn't be moved, you know? But instead we see that certain things are just different. Like look at the curtains and look at the new curtains, right? Awesome. It's small details like this, but if you grew up playing these games, you're now being treated to, gosh, what your mind wants to remember them as, instead of going back and having, you know, 20 years removed from when you originally played the games almost, and nowadays, and seeing like, ooh, that's not as cutting edge as I remembered. Not that necessarily say that any of these 3 GTA games were cutting edge visually amongst their peers back in the day, but you know, now it looks significantly more modern while retaining the look and the feel, I think. And look at the lighting. Yeah, very cool. In some cases, there's an even greater difference in the art direction. Certain character face models, for instance. This right here, I'm like, that's a new car, right? That's going to feel good. That's a pretty big difference right there. Look at how much more rounded out we have these characters. Let's see. Boom to boom. Of course, his head is down in that frame, but still. Really good. This shot right here definitely impressed me in the initial reaction. Look at the trees. Look at the foliage. Look at this zone right here. And let's jump to remake. Wow. For many of you watching this and potentially playing this for the first time, you're in for a treat. Like, if you like GTA 5 or 4, this is a no-brainer for you. If you're brand new to the series, this also, from a value perspective, might be worth trying for the first time, maybe even more so than Grand Theft Auto 5, just because the sheer value, you're getting 3 very big games with lots of voice acting, lots of missions, a cool story behind them, 3 very distinct games for the price of 1. Now, you could get GTA 5 on discount, true, but for what it's worth, this $60 is going to last you a long time. And, if none of the 3 games, were your cup of tea, so to speak, if the overall experience of Grand Theft Auto isn't yours, then probably this series is just not for you. And I would say don't waste your time with GTA 5. But if you want to dive in, this is not a bad way to go. This is what was really different for me in terms of faces. Of all the faces, this one might be the most different, the biggest difference in animation. Hard to say for sure, but yeah, look at that. That's just cool. It definitely feels more like the treatment that Crash Bandicoot Trilogy and Spyro the Dragon Trilogy received. Not gonna lie, I wish that, as happy as I was with the Super Mario 3D All-Stars collection, tremendous value also. 3 fantastic games for $60, up-resed, widescreen for 2 of the games, improved frame rate, a couple of different control methods, 3 great games, little soundtrack on the side. It would have been nice if there was an option, at least inside, for a repainted version of these 3, or at least of Super Mario 64, probably the most iconic of the 3, to be in, a grand repainting, reimagined, still classic feel, mostly 1-to-1 ratio of, replicating things, but better polygon models, improved lighting, improved textures, maybe the option to switch between the old school soundtrack and a new modernized take, and to flip through it. Like, that would be tremendous value, I think. Maybe that would be worth even paying $60 as its own game, because that title is so monumental in history of gaming. But at the very least, some updated visual fidelity features to Super Mario 64 in those 3 would be great. The fact that this has all 3 of them, like, this is the way you do a modernized remake / port. Yeah, some characters look, I don't want to say completely different, but quite different. It's going to be neat playing around in this. Okay, that was awesome. That was 9 minutes spent talking about a 1-minute trailer. Is that right? Wow. Okay, let's go to the actual GTA website. We've got it right here. rockstargames.com/GTA Trilogy. Pre-order now. November 11th. Man, look at them. Pretty sweet. Let's see if we have anything more on here. Updated for a new generation. Across the board enhancements. Brilliant new lighting, environmental upgrades. High resolution textures, increased draw distance. GTA 5 like controls. Yeah, everything that they said was going to happened. Enhancements. 4K support with up to 60 frames per second on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, NVIDIA DLSS support for PC. Touchscreen camera zooming, pans and menu selections, as well as gyro aiming for the Nintendo Switch. Right on! Man, they're not skimping on this at all. Rockstar is delivering. Take advantage of each system's greatest strengths, right? You've got PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and PC, obviously more powerful platforms than Nintendo Switch to play gaming. These are old games, so it's going to look significantly better than the past on anything. But, you know, on those platforms, you could go 60 FPS, 4K, and on Nintendo Switch, take advantage of that gyro aiming. Every pair of Joy-Con, every Pro Controller has the capability in it. Camera zooming, being able to pan and have menu selecting off the touchscreen. That's cool. I like that. That's just going to be some quality of life improvement. Okay. Improved gunplay and targeting controls. Upgraded drive-by controls for San Andreas. That's good. Updated weapon and radio selection wheels. Okay. It'll be interesting to see, for that matter, or hear more specifically, what's the soundtrack like? Because, you know, these three games, specifically I would say Vice City and San Andreas, had great, big licensed pieces. Will all of them be back? Most? Will they replace some with new ones? We'll see. Okay, ability to immediately restart a failed mission. That's good. Updated mini-maps with enhanced navigation. Solid. These are all of the things that are necessary because, not to say you get spoiled, but yeah, you kind of get spoiled as a gamer that evolves with the times, that sometimes it's a little bit jarring to go back to something that's old and feels clunky by comparison. And if you're trying to get a new audience to play, then it's even more of a barrier, you know, in people that not only are they spoiled with the progression, but this is all they know. And to go back, it's like, well, this is not going back for me. This is, you know, a step down in terms of overall quality. Cool. This is good stuff. All right. Well, that was in itself worthy of having a designated video, I would say. But we've got a couple of other stories to talk about today. Neither of the next two are going to be as big as this one. But hey, let's move on, okay? Whew, that was an exciting way to start it off. CD Projekt Red. It announced today that they are acquiring the Molasses Flood. This will now be a CD Projekt studio. Pretty good to know. Welcome to Boston, or hello Boston, I should say. You know, CD Projekt Red the other day announced that a couple of its games, its next generation versions, which are now current gen versions of PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series S and X, of The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077, will be postponed to next year. We've got Cyberpunk in the first quarter, Witcher 3 in the second quarter, but those will hopefully be ready without any flaw when they come out, really maximize that new hardware. So things are looking up for the company again. They were on a high. They hit a low last year, kind of climbing up. You know, a new acquisition right here with the Molasses Flood. That sounds good. So here's hoping that they continue making positive moves going forward. And finally, to end a little bit on a down note, but not horrible necessarily, we've got an update from Nintendo today on Advanced Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp, saying, "Hello, troops. Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp, which was set to launch on December 3rd, will now release for Nintendo Switch in spring 2022. The game just needs a little more time for fine-tuning. You'll be battling with Andy and friends soon. Thanks for your patience. Probably a 4-month delay or something like that. 2022 is starting to look stacked, isn't it? I mean, it already was, but now throwing in Advance Wars, which probably would have gotten lost in the shuffle, I imagine, this year. It's a more simple game in terms of look and probably mass market appeal being on the lower side. It might have gotten lost with, Metroid Dread, the high action Talk of the Town 2D game in October, and Mario Party, the multiplayer 3D Mario game, also later in the month, and the 2D old school over the top games in Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl in November, and Shin Megami Tensei in the fall, and another game which is going to be a smaller one, Big Brain Academy, Big Brain Edition in December. So this one more, if they rushed it, people would be disappointed if it was anything less than great. It's been a long time coming for the series to come back. The title looked awesome at E3. It's been a while since they've talked about it, 4 months actually. So take your time, don't rush it, let it come out in April or May, whenever. Technically, it could be late March, April, May to early June even, but April is just my guess. Call it something in the middle there, and have it be ready. We've got a Kirby title next year, but that's 3D. Not to say that 3D and 2D necessarily occupy the same gamers' interests or conflicting, but sometimes if you have too many 2D games, that could saturate to a point where you're going to skip out on the lesser one that you know about. Or too many first-person shooter games, you might skip out on some of them. You'll go for the core ones that you're interested in. So having this in a time where there are not too many other 2D games that are competing, placing it in between some 3D titles, it feels more fresh. And I think it's a good move from a marketing strategy standpoint of when to put it to better optimize its sales. And also, just the core of this probably is spend more time, get it ready, polish those graphics. If you thought the game looked good at E3, realize that it's going to look that much better when it's actually ready. Because look at Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, and Legends Arceus when they were showed off in February of 2021, and then later on in the Pokemon Direct a couple of months ago. It just got so much better looking, right? Nintendo games typically do that. Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp is going to be no different. All right, that's going to do it today for Video Game News with Paul Gale Network. Thank you for watching. It's been fun. It's a good week overall. We've got some Metroid Dread news. We've got some Nintendo Switch OLED news. We have the 10th anniversary celebration of the first Nintendo Direct. We have the 5-year celebration of when Nintendo officially announced the Nintendo Switch as its name with that trailer. And now we've got Grand Theft Auto, the Trilogy, the Definitive Edition coming out. Cool stuff, cool stuff. All right. Let me know what you thought about today. Thanks for watching. This is PGN signing out. Have a good one.